This is your weekly market watch for the Seattle area real estate market. Hey everyone, my name is Brennen Clouse. I'm your favorite Seattle area realtor. Today, we just got done with the Fed meeting. Well, I didn't get done with it, but the Fed meeting is over now. They just met this week. So we are talking all about the mortgage interest rate. Let's jump into it. Today is Thursday, January 29th, and let's jump into the data and what's going on. Mortgage interest rates went slightly lower today with the data that came out in the Fed announcement. The 30-year fixed is at 6.16%. The 15-year fixed is at 5.75. Jumbo is at 6.34. And then the FHA and VA are at 5.81 and 5.83 respectively. So why did this not go down more? Well, the Fed today basically decided to hold the rate steady at 3.5 to 3.75, meaning that this mortgage interest rate, which is impacted by the Fed rate, is not going to go down much. It's going to stay pretty consistent. And part of the reason for that is because even though inflation is still high, the unemployment rate is stabilizing, and the Fed is basically trying to keep the economy steady if they can. And if they lowered that rate and the mortgage interest rate came down, there would be a huge influx of people into the buyer pool, most likely, if we saw that. And so part of the reason that they're doing this is to keep that economy steady. If you have watched these before, you know that most often when the Fed is going to cut the rate, or when there's expectations that it might cut the rate, that is when we see the mortgage interest rate drop a little bit. And we usually see that prior to the actual Fed meeting. Now, economic projections come out every other Fed meeting, and this was not one of the meetings where they had economic projections. And that's really what can excite the markets. And so today we kind of expected that there wouldn't be a big rate drop. Now we will see again at their next meeting when they do have economic projections if that changes. So the mortgage interest rate is holding pretty steady. If you remember, it was down to below 6% earlier this year, but it has not reached that level again since. Now, when we're talking about the Seattle real estate market specifically, let's talk about the condo listings. This week, we saw 53 new listings over last week's 7-day data. So at 205 new condo listings, up from 152 last year. The number of pending listings this week was up 17 at 162. So 162 is keeping up with 205 pretty well, and sold listings were down to at 74. Now, when we look at the single family market or townhome market, both of those combined, this week the number of new listings was down by 7 at 359. That's down from 366 last week. The pending listings were up 41 at 446. So this is a huge gap. We see 446 going under contract and only 359 coming on the market. Same as last week, what we're seeing is that people are buying up what was already listed. So if homes are not already competitive, which we're hearing a lot of them are, a lot of them have more than one buyer, they're going to get even more competitive if we don't see the number of homes listed for sale start coming up to meet that demand. And last but not least, the number of sold listings was down 19 at 166 this week. So overall in the market, we are hearing about competition amongst buyers. We're hearing that a lot of buyers, especially for single family homes, are having to compete. That said, that's not the entire market. So if you are thinking about buying this year, it doesn't necessarily mean you will have to compete. And we certainly have strategies to help you not compete. If you are thinking about buying, reach out. You can text or email us to set up a free strategy consultation where we can talk about what you're looking to do in the next year and how we can help you. And if you're selling, now is that time to get your home on the market, because the reason we're hearing about buyer competition is because there's not enough sellers in the market. Whereas once we get to May and June, that's going to be the opposite. There's going to be most likely more sellers than there are buyers. And so you are going to have a lot of competition at that point, and your buyers will be more sparse. So think about that. And if you want to talk about the strategy behind selling your home, be sure to text or email us as well. And let's get on a call and talk about your goals for this week. Thanks for tuning in this week. We hope to see you again next time.